liberty, and justice for all.
Yeah.
Was it 7 o'clock just now?
This meeting is being recorded and televised by the local cable company. We'll start it off with a moment of silence. The first item on the agenda is reorganization of the board. I'll pass this over to you, Frank. Would you like the hammer?
That's my one day a year I get to hammer. Call for reorganization of the officers of the Board of Selectmen. I will now entertain motions for chairman.
I motion that we make Kyle Kowalski chairman.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to nominate Dr. Kowalski as chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. And thank you, board members. I was going to say fellow board members. I was trying to think of a way to say that without it being sexist. How would you do that?
I don't believe it is sex.
Associate
members.
board
Fellow
members.
select people?
Associate board members.
Board members.
The rest of the crew? Board members. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, I'll open up the board for...
Oh, he missed it.
Kyle's been
can
nominated
all-
as our chairman.
It can only get worse. Okay, I'll open up nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Dan.
I'll second the nomination.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing no other nominations, nominations will be closed. All those in favor of Mr. Savucci? Aye.
Thank you.
And the next one would be clerk. Is there a nomination for clerk?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Lambiase.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? Any thoughts? We really want to do that again? Okay. All those in favor?
Big follow up. Good night.
Hey, if it's not broke, why fix it?
That's right.
Things work fine.
I guess that ends that. Approval of bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Accept correspondence in the read file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda? Now is the time to do that.
Lori? I guess not.
As long as the person in the back room isn't panning the room right now, I can pretend that there's a whole lot of people out there. But they're not. Approval of meeting minutes, open session, March 22nd,
So moved.
2016.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Act on the new business. Act on the disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest as required by General Law, Section 268A. General Laws, 268A, Section 23B, 3, for Building Commissioner Robert Curran.
Mr. Chairman, in an abundance of caution, Mr. Curran has submitted a conflict of interest disclosure. While it does not appear there is any conflict, there's a possibility someone might think there is, hence his presentation noting that he had some long ago family tie to a property that will be inspected by our substitute inspector from Rockland.
Okay,
Do we need a motion to accept it?
please.
I make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Act on the request of Commander Paul Hansen on behalf of American Legion Post 22 to hold the annual Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of Richard Rosen to rename May Street.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there a name that's going to be renamed?
Yes.
Paradise?
I believe
Paradise.
it's going to be Paradise.
Lane, I think, isn't it?
Let's see.
Paradise will be in the name when he submits it to the planning board.
Paradise? Lane, yes.
Paradise
It's in the
Lane.
letter, Paradise Lane.
Mr. Rosen
I
has
see it, right, Paradise Lane.
requested the change, and after pretty thorough search, we find that by default, the Board of Selectmen would be the authority to approve it because it doesn't fall under the conditions that would require a Public Works or Planning Board approval. This approval will require a 30-day waiting period so that anyone who may wish to object to the renaming of the street can come forward.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just think it's a very appropriate name for that, highlighting where
Paradise
Paradise Gardens had been in there for as long as 40 years as I've been in Whitman, but I don't know, probably longer than that. I think it's a great name.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Act on the request of the Board of Health for permission to use the animal shelter Essex Street for rabies clinic for cats and dogs on Saturday, April 1st, 2017, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 noon.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Planning ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is way ahead. Finally, under new business, to authorize the town administrator to negotiate cable service for Whitman. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Of course, there's a little story behind this. The,
Yeah, Frank,
We have a license with Comcast. Verizon has not indicated any interest in coming to Whitman since we last met about 7 years ago. However, they have begun build-outs. So I would like to approach Verizon rather than waiting for them to get to us and perhaps offer some inducements to come forward and come up with a plan to provide fiber optic service in Whitman, but I need the board's permission to begin that process.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
yeah, Frank, in that, will there be an understanding that they would have to, because our cable studio runs on monies that Continental gives them,
No,
from our billing.
our cable studio runs on the money that we pay
Right.
as an access fee. It actually is not money from Comcast
Right.
at all, it's just channeled through
Right.
them. Obviously, if we bring another cable company into Whitman, we will have to provide some accommodation, and we would expect them to provide similar services in terms of public access. So it will require some coordination and perhaps some additional build-out on the part of Verizon to continue to provide that balanced local access service. And that would be part of any agreement we ultimately make. And there is a process beyond this where they would have to apply for a license. The board would have to hear their application. We would send public notice. But I would like to see if we could offer some type of expedited process to make Whitman a little more attractive for a secondary license.
Works for me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, around the board, Frank?
Just two quick things. Three, actually. The American Legion has invited the Board of Selectmen to participate in the Memorial Day Parade. I will not be this year because my wife is going to be having surgery that weekend, and I will probably be at the hospital that Monday. We also have an invitation from the Duval School. Every year they put on their We Remember ceremony for Memorial Day on the Friday before it. In this case, March 27th at 9:30. And they do a little, they bring all the kids in and they introduce some veterans and do some recognition work for veterans, and that invitation is open as well. And thirdly, I am extremely thankful that we completed town meeting in one night and with very little controversy.
Right. And keeping democracy safe in Whitman.
So I hear.
Yeah. Scott?
I got nothing.
Nothing, okay.
I have nothing.
Nothing?
I raced here for that.
Did you bring anything with you?
Nothing, no.
Well, I'd like to remind the public that we have an important override election in a few weeks. And it's important to, I think, we have to think long and hard about spending the money to take care of our schools better than we're taking care of them now. As I said at the meeting, the town meeting, we've done really well in this town getting through an economic downturn. Haven't let people go. We've been able to treat our firemen and our policemen well, as far as their equipment and also what they make for a living. We're healthy as far as those kinds of things go. I don't know if we can say the same thing about the schools. And I think we need to think long and hard about changing that pattern, see if we can see our minds to doing so. We didn't do it ourselves as select people. We had a finance committee over the last number of years led by Bill Kaposi that did a remarkable job in marshaling our way through a very, very difficult time. And also, we can't overlook the job that Frank did, our town administrator, during that period of time as well. We're lucky to be in the position we're in. As I mentioned, we have right now, we have the lowest tax rate in our immediate area. Over the last 3 years, we've been either the lowest or the second to lowest. And our tax bills are the lowest right now in the area, even though we've done all right by the fire and the police. It's time I think, to do all right by the kids, you know. I was thinking today how important my teachers were growing up. And when you think about the fact that you spend so much time from the ages of 5 or 6 years old to 17 with a special group of people who could use our support. I noticed there was an article in the Enterprise the other day about the salaries of teachers, mischief-making to the nth degree, suggesting, I think, to a lot of people that teachers get paid an awful lot. And so that's what I think the article was trying to do. To look at what these people are making. Well, remember the service that they are performing for you, for your children from the ages of 5 or 6 to 17 or 18. It can't be bought for twice as much money. I can recall years ago when I was in the school committee, we were in a similar situation where the schools needed an influx of money. And we thought it might be good as a school committee to invite citizens to teach for a half a day, see what it was like to be a teacher. One of the reasons why it's hard to get a school budget through sometimes is because no matter how important those teachers were to them, a lot of people tend to remember some of their teachers with not as much favor as you would like. So see what it's like to be a teacher. So we did it 2 years in a row. I remember the first year I thought I should do it too. And I thought I would try to teach the youngest children I could. So I chose the 3rd grade. I went into Mrs. Hall's class in the 3rd grade, and she was a remarkable teacher. She was really great for both of my kids. And went into that room, and within about a half an hour, I couldn't wait for the gym teacher to come in at 10 o'clock and take these little people away from me, because I couldn't handle them. I could not handle them at all. And I'm thinking to myself, how do elementary school teachers do it? I just don't know how they did it. The next year I did middle school English or reading, and it wasn't hard to me for some reason. You know, maybe because they all watched Saturday Night Live like I did. So we had something in common, you know. But we have to, if we are honest and remember how important those teachers were, how hard they work, I think maybe this 2.5 election might work the right way.
Well, part of the realization that many people don't recognize is a teacher's job doesn't begin when they walk into the school and it doesn't end when they go home. There's hours of work. My daughter-in-law's a teacher, teaches in Carver, and I see the work she does and the preparation she does, and these are all hours that are not paid, but they're part of the job. They're what it takes to be effective as a teacher, and we sometimes don't value that as we should.
No, it's, no, it's a plea to value that. We're in the bottom 10 in this, out of 351 towns, as far as the share that we give to our students. And there are a lot of factors that go into that, and part of that is the state falling down on their end of the bargain over the years. But you can't deny it, we're in the bottom 10. It'd be nice to be in the bottom 20 rather than the bottom 10. So let's, hopefully things work out in a couple
Well,
of weeks.
even being in the bottom 10 with 2 kids in the school system, they're doing an amazing job. An amazing job.
They do,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they do need more support.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, Kyle, you brought up a couple of names on our budgets, Bill Caposi, and I want to add Don Hunt. They've not re-upping for the next term. Don Hunt, I believe, had given 23 years, I believe, on the Finance Committee, and Bill Caposi has given 22 years. So, I mean, I want to thank them for their many years of service on the Finance Committee. They're part of why we are where we are today. So, just wanted to mention them both.
Yeah, I remember from my days in the school committee how much I hated the finance committee.
But, hey, it is what
No,
it is.
No, because it was a battle every single year.
Right.
It was a total battle. When Steve Boyce got to be chair, and that's not saying that the chairs before that were bad people.
Wait a minute,
They
I
weren't
was
at-
chair before Steve.
They weren't at all. No, seriously, there was a change. There was a change when Steve Boyce became
Well, take the night by the
chair of
way.
that finance committee. For some reason, that he seemed to be more open to discussion. Not than you, Dan. We love you, Dan.
Yeah.
I think he had a different perspective too, because for many years, Steve Boyce was a volunteer
Yeah.
in the school system, so I think he gave him a different perspective than others might have.
And I think the schools will tell you that Bill Caposi listened to them too. We'll see what happens.
Speaking of what happens, if, hypotheticals, just so people know, if Whitman passes the question, but Hanson does not, where does that leave us?
An override vote is good until you set the tax rate. So if Whitman passes and Hanson does not, they have until sometime in September or October to persuade Hanson to hold another meeting and pass it. If one town passes and the other one doesn't, it fails by default because the distribution of support has to be apportioned based on population. And that's an iffy deal there. I mean, an argument could be made for the fact that Whitman voted to increase and appropriate more money, because our appropriation is contingent on passing a 2.5 override. It isn't contingent on Hanson passing one. So I think the most confusing situation will be if one town passes and one doesn't.
Yeah, but even if it
Because then
does,
we'll be breaking new ground.
right, even if it doesn't pass, both towns have put in a 3% increase on their budget.
Ours is, well, it's
A little higher.
3.5, but ours is 4.2 and
Right.
Hanson is
So that, I mean,
2.5.
it's not like everything shuts down.
No, but it does mean that there will be some reductions in service.
I'm done. We need to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exception 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair, and I guess I will, declares that the open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
So moved.
Second? Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll be coming back in open session only to adjourn.